Just north of El Barrio, I found one of the oldest Russian Orthodox churches in New York. Outside, the crowd waits for the resurrection of Christ on Easter Eve. Among them are descendants of the Russian aristocracy who came to New York after the Russian Revolution. Many things have changed since then, but the church remains unchanged, and the religious faith of these exiles and immigrants is unshaken. At midnight come the solemn words, "Christ has risen," and only now do the priests and the people enter the church. What's going on here? A Ukrainian wedding. Most New Yorkers think Ukrainians are Russians, which annoys the Ukrainians. They have a different origin and speak a different language. This dance may look Russian to you, but any Ukrainian can tell you it's their traditional sword dance. Whether they live in New York or back in Europe, Ukrainians like to think there is nobody else in the world quite like a Ukrainian, a very human characteristic that is practically universal. On a hot summer day, New York may seem kind of dead. But just look closer, and you'll see things that astonish you. small procession of elephants. Nobody even turns to look as they pass, and the elephants are equally indifferent. In New York, everybody minds his own business, even when Icarus goes flying down the street between apartment houses. You see Greek goddesses limbering up on the sidewalks. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, comes a parade, and you realize that New York Greeks are celebrating their Independence Day.
And your eye upon the scale, Union miners stand together. He'd know.
In Washington Square, folk singers gather and give voice to plaintive songs of the Old West, although most of them have never been astride a horse.
Stand in New York City. I'm on this hot day.
Then not my boys, you've been loading through the wire.
In another part of the city, Italians celebrate the Giglio d'Onora, an old religious ceremony in homage to St. Anthony of Padua. The festa is a strenuous one. It takes 104 men to carry the huge float bearing a 20-piece orchestra. And this is not all. Above rises a 100-foot tower, from the top of which St. Anthony overlooks the festivities. Soon the buildings in this old Italian district will disappear, to be replaced by a modern housing project. Will the festa also disappear? Somehow, I doubt it. motorcycle club, Harlem style. An elegant wedding, Harlem style. But what is Harlem style? If you single out any one thing about Harlem and say it's typical, you'll be wrong. From street to street, from house to house, you'll find 1,000 differences, contrasts, oddities, the whole wide range of human behavior. One Sunday, I visited a church called the United House of Prayer for all people of the church on the rock of the apostolic faith. It was a very special occasion. The congregation had turned out full force to welcome Bishop Walter McCullough, known to his followers as Sweet Daddy McCullough. He is the successor to Sweet Daddy Grace, who founded this church. And since the bishop has to look after the affairs of similar churches in 15 different states, he's only able to visit New York on rare occasions. When he does, he gets a rousing reception. After a salute to the bishop, the guards stood aside, and the congregation began to dance. To these devout people, religion is an intensely personal experience, and the members of the congregation prefer to participate in the service rather than to remain just a passive audience. Watching the dancers, I thought, this must be something like the old-time revival meetings. When people reached such a state of religious ecstasy, they felt that the Holy Spirit had truly taken possession of them. After the dancing had ended, the congregation stood with hands raised in prayer. Finally came the traditional gospel singing, which by now has become famous all over the world.
I don't know what makes the rain fall. I don't know what makes the rain fall. I don't know what makes the grass grow. I don't know what makes the grass grow tall. I don't know why he loved me at all. I don't know why he loved me at all. I know that I'm healed. I'm healed. Yes, Lord.
In Greenwich Village, a happening. This is action painting. The artist is quite well known, and his work is considered important by the avant-garde. A happening is not an everyday event. A select audience of collectors, patrons, and friends has been invited to watch. Nobody knows quite what will happen at a happening, not even the artist. The painting is as unpremeditated and spontaneous as possible. This is art that exists only for the moment. The accepted code governing affairs of this sort requires that right after the happening, the creation must be completely destroyed. Perhaps the most enduring art in the city is the city itself. Towering and magnificent, glowing with tier upon tier of lighted windows, the sheer walls of the skyscrapers rise until their tops are lost in darkness. They seem to dwarf the petty affairs of men, and yet I must remember that they were built by men. Each one is a monument to man's aspirations, man's determination to change his world and make it a better, a more beautiful place in which to live. Here, too, was the strange new look of man venturing into outer space, intent upon reaching the moon, and I thought, the shape of the future is already with us. And so it is with New York. This changing city already wears the look of tomorrow. But what about the people who live here? Are they too changing? Well, not as fast as the skyline, certainly. As everybody knows, it takes a long time for people to change. Just the same, it is happening. Already these New Yorkers have achieved something entirely new and very important. With all their differences, they've learned to live together, which I think is something that all the peoples of the world will have to learn if they want to survive. Meanwhile, new buildings rise. Overnight, the city changes, and tomorrow it will change again. Everything will change, and slowly the people will keep changing too. For is not man the product of his environment? I wish I could come back here 100 years from now and see how the city looks, see what the people are like by that time. Meanwhile, I feel lucky to have seen it as it is. It's been a great adventure, and And one thing I'm sure of. No matter how much this city and its people may change in the future, there will still be only one New York.